Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I am your host, and I am your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 11 p.m. Eastern until 3 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio. Let me see. Radio X across Europe, and on TalkStream Live. If you'd like to send me an email, studio@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our website where you can find out what we're doing, what we have been doing, and what we intend on doing, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My first guest tonight, X-Zone Nation, is our dear friend Misa. And for over 45 years, Misa has been a spiritual healer, teacher, counselor, channel for spiritual readings, medium, animal communicator, and medical intuitive. She has been trained in crisis intervention and addiction counseling. And for the last year and a half, she has been the conduit for a very high-frequency energy that comes through her and will raise the vibratory rate of those in her proximity. She calls this heart change healing and works with the people in person, in groups, or remotely. She has learned to do biolocation and is able to do remote healings at any location on the planet. She has studied and been previously certified in several alternative modalities, including matrix energetics, educational kinesiology, and others. Misa is an ordained metaphysical priest and also an ordained non-denominational Christian minister. She has been a student of the Ascended Masters for over 45 years, and her website is www.misahealingandreadings.com. And Misa, welcome back to the X-Zone, and to you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much, Rob. It's always wonderful to be here.
Misa, since last time you and I talked, the world seems to be spinning down in a spiral. Is this all part of a greater plan?
Yes, I believe it is. Even the Bible says that we are fighting powers and principalities,
Mm-hmm.
and that would denote it's much greater than nation against nation. That there's something behind all of that it has its own agenda, and it seems to be quite successful because certainly we can readily see that we're in a downward spiral.
So what can we do? And being in contact with people like yourself who have a better idea of what the grand scheme of things is, how can we cope on a day-to-day basis with all this negativity?
The more that I do the work I do, the more that I perceive what's actually going on and all of the influence that tries to keep us down, so to speak, tries to keep us from rising up into spiritual heights. I think it's more and more important, and Spirit is telling me that we have to bring more light into the planet, and the way to do that is for each individual to raise their rate of vibration so they can hold more light, because we are the way that light comes to the planet. We magnetize it into us. We're on the planet, so it comes into us, and then it goes through us out to the planet. And I think that's the call of the day. And I'm still sitting with a lot of people in meditation healing groups. The energy is getting stronger and stronger, the energy that comes through me. The longer people sit in it, the more changes they experience, and it is because their frequencies are raising. And I find that, I've done a lot of counseling with people, and I still do a lot of counseling with people.
Right.
When you talk with people, it's great. It's a wonderful approach. It relates to them at a mental level, but it does not always help people raise their vibrations. And a lot of times people are so stuck in their belief systems, or what they want to happen, or in their opinion, or in their judgments, that they don't come out of that. But when they are exposed to a high frequency energy, it works more automatically.
All
when
right,
you're sitting in that energy.
Misa, we're going to have to take a little break here because I have to take my first set of commercials. Exonation Misa is our special guest. And for more information on Misa, her website is misahealingandreadings.com. And we'll both be back after this short break. Don't go away.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at www.drgibbswilliams.com.
This is Johanna Carroll, host of Dialogue with Divinity on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. While walking along Kaanapali Beach in Maui this past year, I kept discovering all these shells and coral in the shape of hearts. My dialogue with Divinity was very simple. Do you want me to do a retreat to heal people's hearts in Maui next year? And of course, the answer was yes. As a master spiritual teacher, I am offering you a neat retreat called Rise, May 8th through the 12th, 2017, and the chance of a lifetime to rest at a 5-star resort for 5 days and experience a spiritual renewal of your heart and soul. Kaanapali is one of the top 5 beaches in the world. This stunning resort has undergone a $40 million renovation. I walked the entire property, checked out the room choices on your behalf, and I must say it is stunning. Our conference room faces the ocean with sliding glass doors. Maui is known as Mother Maui because it is a soft, gentle, healing energy. In the embrace of Mother Maui, you will feel yourself rising from the limitations of an ordinary life to an extraordinary journey of peace, bliss, and harmony. A greater sense of clarity. Our Rise retreat ignites renewal in the sacred elements of air, water, earth, fire, and wind. There's plenty of free time to enjoy all that Maui has to offer. A small deposit is required now to reserve your space, as this retreat, it will sell out. For more details, please go to johannacarroll.com and register today. Aloha, and I'll see you in mystical Maui.
Welcome back, Exonation. Now, if you'd like to be part of UFO history, www.cubesatfordisclosure.com, and to get more information about CubeSat, you can go to the website at www.cubesatfordisclosure.com, or check out the December issue of the X-Chronicles newspaper, which will be hitting newsstands all over the place in 2 weeks from now. Misa's our special guest. We're talking about, before we went to the commercial break, we were talking about raising the vibrational frequencies and strength here on this planet. And Misa, we can do this by working together to raise the frequency. That's if you believe. But what happens if, I'm sure you come across this, where people say, frequencies, schmequencies, like it's all a bunch of hooey. Are they themselves dampening the good frequency?
Well, they're certainly not allowing an opening for them to go through any kind of change. And if people are not open to it, there's really nothing you can do about it. And everybody makes their choices about what they will be open to and what they might accept, or what they might be willing to look at, or what they're not. And so a lot of times you do run into people that just don't want to go there. Even, interestingly enough, even in the healing work that I do, I have run into people that will say they want to be healed, but they are not willing to change anything in order to be healed and to hold the healing. Wow. It's like they want something easy and automatic without realizing that you have to make some changes.
But there is nothing easy in life that is worthwhile having.
I don't agree with that.
You don't?
No, I don't.
All right. Tell me your side, and I'll tell you my side.
Okay. I think that's a mindset. I think that we are taught that life is hard. You have to work hard. It's difficult. And I think that when we take on that belief system, we experience that, because we will experience whatever we believe. But if you change your belief system and you move into that space of the universe is for me, the universe supports me, the universe is going to help me, and you learn to kind of ride the wave of the energy of the universe, things get much easier and things get much more synchronized in your life. There's more things that just happen. You don't have to try to make them happen. They just come to you. So you're more in alignment with the natural flow of the universe, and it's very supportive. That's my experience anyway. I spent years struggling because life was hard and everything was hard. And it was, because that's what I believed.
All right, but if that is the case, why is that not taught worldwide? Why are there different philosophies that basically teach against what you're saying?
Well, that's a really good question, Rob. And I think that the powers that be would rather have us in struggle. We're much more easy to control if we're struggling. We're much more easy to control if we are polarized in this is right, this is wrong. I think it's all about control.
Controlled by who and for what reason?
That's another good question. There are, I tend to look at the things that are obvious to us, kind of like a puppet show, even in the politics we're seeing. And we're not seeing the people that are pulling the strings of the puppets. We're just seeing the puppets. But we feel like the puppets are the reality. But I don't believe they are. I believe there's powers behind the puppets that are in control. And I believe that the thing that threatens them the most is that if people unite and get together. So what they do is keep us very divided. So when we look at our political scene, we see two candidates that are very polarized. People are so upset about this whole last election. This candidate is good, this candidate is bad. And it pits people against each other. And you can see in other aspects of society how we are always pitted against each other. It keeps us from uniting. And as long as we're kept from uniting, we're not much of a threat.
But what kind of race would we be worldwide if we didn't have any competitive spirit in us, that we just rolled over and played dead and gave in to every little whim and desire that we came across?
Well, that's not what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
I'm not talking about giving in to every whim and desire.
Okay.
I am talking about raising the awareness, raising the level of the consciousness. And as that happens, and that happens through raising our vibratory rate, as that happens, it's not that we roll over, it's that when we do an action, it is more in alignment with universal flow, with universal law, with the heart center, with our soul, with our true creativity, with our true being. And when we are in that place, we are less apt to do things that are negative to ourselves or to our fellow man.
Give me an example.
An example would be, I remember one time when I was in a seminar and somebody was talking about being in their heart space, and when you're in that heart space, and they were saying something about, well, there's no rules. And someone said, well, what if somebody had a murderous intent? And the answer was, if you're in your heart space, you're not going to have a murderous intent, because the heart is the seat of love. It's the place where God connects with us, in us. So if you're in a higher consciousness, you're not going to be thinking about the negative things that are done in the lower consciousness, because you're not going to be in fear. So if somebody hurts somebody else purposely, they're doing that probably because they're in extreme anger, they're in extreme fear. There's something going on that is very, very negative, that is pushing them to do something so awful to another person, but it makes them feel like they've got power and they're in control. When you're in your heart space and in your higher mind, you do not have the need to control, because you understand that everything has a plan and everything will work if it's allowed to work.
Okay, if it is that simple, and you've made it sound very simple,
Yeah,
why hasn't this worked throughout time?
because mankind as a whole hasn't been into that state of consciousness. We've had great teachers that have been there, Jesus, Buddha. We've had from time to time these wonderful beings that are totally in that place, and they come to teach us, and they tell us, but we don't basically understand, or we are in rebellion to what they're saying. But there are people on the planet that are in that space, but it's not the majority, because the majority are so concerned with external gratification, instant gratification. And we've been conditioned to do that also, to go for the external gratification, that we're not in touch with our higher being. We're not in touch with our true presence, who we truly are. So the only way we know to have a pleasurable experience is to try to get it from outside of us rather than looking inside. Jesus said, "Don't you know that ye are gods, and don't you know that heaven is inside?"
But he also said, "Suffer little children to come unto me, for thine is the kingdom of heaven."
That's right.
So why would he say, "Suffer unto me," if suffering was not necessary to achieve a goal?
Well, I think that suffering, I don't think he meant suffering like suffering the way we might think about it. I think he meant that, be as the little child. A little child is very trusting, very innocent, very fresh from the heaven worlds.
Yeah.
Not very conditioned. We get the conditioning as we get older and as we grow up. So I think it was referring to that innocent kind of consciousness where we just allow the goodness that is our true self to manifest through us, without the fear, without the anger, without the judgment, without the criticism, and all of those things that we are conditioned into.
Is it conditioning, or is it part of who we really are as a race? And how do we know that this idea of, just opening up, dropping your guard, giving love, accepting people, holding hands, singing Kumbaya and toasting marshmallows, is actually not a ploy to overtake us?
Well, again, that's not what Jesus taught. He taught to be vigilant, and the masters teach we have to be vigilant. And we can't just roll over. We can't just open up to everything. But if you raise your level of awareness, and you can discriminate what is what. So if something is being presented to you, you can feel and discriminate the energy of that. If that energy is of a low vibration or of darkness, you say no. You have your boundaries. You have your very strong boundaries. You do not buy into it. But you have to be able to discriminate what that energy is. You can't do that. You can't do that if you're at the same level of vibration as what is coming at you. You have to get up above it so that you can read the vibration. It's below you. Even Einstein said you can't solve a problem at the same level of the problem. You have to get several planes or several dimensions above the problem.
And quantum physics is starting to prove Einstein in many cases wrong.
Well, I think he was right about this, because quantum physics is also talking about how things change through observation, how our expectations have a huge effect on what happens, the observer effect.
But we also have to realize that quantum physics is theoretical physics.
Not so much, Rob.
Give me an example of where quantum physics is not theoretical.
I will talk about the healing I'm doing, or I can talk about the matrix energetics training I've had, where you're actually using the idea of opening up to a greater consciousness and allowing that to come in and do what it will do. And it's amazing at the things that will happen. It's just a matter of trusting and opening. It's not a matter of giving up control so much.
Trusting and opening, could that be interpreted as mind over matter, the placebo effect?
It could be, but basically you're going beyond mind. Because when you are in your, the mind loves to trap us, and the mind loves to spit out thoughts. Mm-hmm. And we're sort of taught that every thought is important and that every thought is true, and
but
that's not.
Misa, we've got to take a break. But I'd just like to give you something to chew over the next couple of minutes. If it wasn't for the mind, where would we be today? Would we still be in the dark caves? We need our mind. We need that extra drive. We need the inspiration. We need the reason. We need the challenges.
Okay.
Do you agree or disagree? And when we come back, pardon?
I agree.
Okay, great. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Send me your email, studio@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV, and our main website, xzoneradiotv.com. And by the way, congratulations to Jill Dane, who has been elected and nominated and who has won the 2016 Psychic Challenge here in the X Zone. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Exonation, Misa is our special guest, and we're talking about vibrations right now. And you know, when we go back to the middle 60s, the hippies, they were talking about vibrations, good vibes, man. I feel your vibes. Flower power, make love, not war. And, the Beach Boys, good vibrations, and other songs that try to incorporate the vibrational aspect of life. It didn't catch on then. Why not, if it is so great? And how is it going to catch on in the future?
Well, all of life is vibration. It's sound and light and vibration. And that is scientific. I'm not making that up. So if you start looking at life and everything that you experience in the realm of vibration, and you start to understand that everything is different, and you start to look at it more from an energetic kind of level rather than from an objective object kind of thing. So if I'm holding my glasses, that's an object I can hold, but those glasses, they're vibrating at a certain frequency. And if I can come into alignment with that frequency that they are functioning at, I'll have a better effect when I put my glasses on. It's changing how we're looking at things, which gives us a different perspective and a different way to approach what happens in our life.
Okay, let me ask you this. If the object of the lesson is for us to increase our vibrational frequency.
Yeah.
If everything that we know is set at the frequency we are at now, the molecular vibrational theory that is making everything appear to be solid is set at specific frequencies. If we increase the frequencies, what happens to what we know as reality?
It changes.
To what?
Well, our experience, we go into a more ethereal realm, which opens up many more possibilities. And reality is never static anyway, Rob. It's always changing, whether we experience that or not.
But the frequency of paper doesn't change. The frequency of water molecules don't change. They remain constant, except if you're going to add a temperature, it turns to a gas. When it moves faster and when it moves slower, it turns to ice. But still, they're constances.
Well, there are some constances, but those things will change. If you study, if you study esoteric Buddhism or esoteric Hinduism, and they talk about the different stages, the very huge ages that we go through, and how the density in those ages changes. Right now, we're in the Kali Yuga, which is the densest, and then as we go back up. As we start cycling back up through the cycles, everything will start to spin faster, and then things will become less dense. Now, this takes like millions of years we're talking about, but they've actually tracked that whole cycle and how that happens. And so this is not information. This is very ancient information. It's not anything new.
But we also know for a fact that what has been recorded by the ancients is not what was really happening. For example, the Bible was recorded by ancients. The book of Genesis was written by Moses. And we know for a fact that, it didn't take 7 days and 6 days and 6 nights to create the world. We know that there's a process of evolution. So how can we differentiate between the fabricated ancient philosophies that that have been written about through time compared to the actuality? And I'll use the creationism versus biblical times.
Well, the Bible is full of metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible, if you take it literally and you don't understand the metaphors, it conflicts itself all the time. But the 7 days of creation were 7 ages, and they were written about. The 7 days are a metaphor. There's lots and lots of metaphors in the Bible. They don't really conflict with any scientific evidence if you understand the metaphor.
Yeah, but any book that is written can be taken in so many different ways as to manipulate it to the meaning and the desires of the reader.
Well, that's absolutely true. I don't argue that.
Yeah. So how do we know that these ancient writings that you're talking about, that were, so old that I made the original comparison to the Bible with, are right?
I think it's a matter of that little voice inside that says, yes, there's really something to this. Yes, look more into this. Yes, research this more. And if you, I've always found that if I research something enough, and if I can get into the information that is called the ageless wisdom, that everything will line up with that. And when I see everything line up with that, and everything makes sense, because it has to make sense to me, then I will accept that, okay, this has got some truth to it. This is saying something, and it's got some reality to it, and I need to pay attention to that.
Okay, but we're talking about ancient writings with people who had a very basic knowledge of the world as it was. We're talking about a time when people thought that the world ended on the other side of the horizon. We're talking about people who really had no concept. Well, they had a basic concept. I didn't want to be demeaning to them. Did not have an in-depth knowledge. And I believe that a lot of these writings were written in order to try and put some semblance into a world that they had very little knowledge about. So how can we apply the so-called writings of the ancients that were in a very primitive world compared to the high-tech, highly evolved world that we now live in?
Well, I think it depends on what you're talking about by ancient. I think that if we go back far enough, farther than 5,000 years, farther back than 5,000 years, let's go back to Atlantis, let's go back to Lemuria, let's go back to
once again, you're talking about hypothetical places that have not been proven to exist. Lemuria has not been proven.
Rob, but if you can read the Akashic records, then you can touch that information.
But how many people can really read the Akashic records? How much of this is, I want to become a new age guru. I'll learn the lingo. I'll learn what to do, and they go out there and they spill all this information, and they do more harm than good.
Oh, I agree with that. Very few people can actually read the Akashic records, but there are some that can. And I think that, again, there's something in us that will recognize what is good information and what is bad information. And I think that as we hone our ability to discriminate that we're able to recognize what's what. It's a process. I think you have to learn how to do that. But I think that as we get better and better and better at that, we have a very good inner guidance system that helps us along the way.
If the old philosophies that we've been talking about were so good, were so valid, were so true and worked, how come these philosophies have fallen by the wayside?
Well, that's a good question too, because we literally have fallen into a denser vibratory rate, whereas we lost touch with a lot of that, and we lost touch with a lot of who we truly are, our true presence of the divine within us. And when we lost that, then we're dependent upon the conscious mind. And I don't have an argument about we need the conscious mind. It does great work, but it also is very connected with the ego. And so the ego has kind of its own agenda. And we very much went astray from that higher truth, so to speak. And now, you can see the movement of people trying to get back to that. They're trying to get back to, who am I really, and what is this all about, and why am I here, and what is the purpose of life, and how do I get in touch with my higher self, and how do I get, you can see that happening.
But are they spending too much time philosophizing instead of getting on with life, making the changes necessary to create the life that they're dreaming about, wishing about? You put a dream in one hand and no action in the other hand, you're going to get nowhere in a hurry. But if you actually take a dream, which is a plan, and put your butt and everything you've got behind that dream, it will happen.
Oftentimes it will. I wouldn't say it always does, but I would say that it will happen maybe to some degree.
Well, that's been my philosophy, and every dream I have ever had has come true. Every dream that the people that I deal with on a daily basis, who have had the ability to understand that there's no such thing as a failure, it's only a lesson to success, that you just keep going. You come off the horse, you get back on, and away you go. I have a hard time trying to say it's because we're any different. We're not different. All we do is we are able to complete the task. We're able to take the dream, which is the idea, and work our butts off in order to make the dream turn into reality. So when I see people saying, it's because of this, that, and the other thing, I'll get off it. The only reason you're failing is because you're too damn lazy to make it happen.
Well, I've had the same experience you've had, Rob. I had a few very strong dreams as a child, and those came true. I made those happen, and I worked hard, and I learned a lot of lessons along the way. Now I find that in the place where I'm at now, that if I will just basically tell God what it is I want, which is mostly how do I serve better, how can I help, I'll do anything that is your will for me to do, I don't have to work as hard.
Why would people go to a God who has been anything but kind and considerate to the people that he was supposed to have created? Look what he did to the people in Sodom and Gomorrah. Look what he did. He caused a total flood that totally eradicated the entire population of the earth except his chosen few. Look what happened to the Egyptians, going across the Red Sea and so on and so forth. If God was to be placed on trial for being a rotten parent, he'd be thrown in jail and the key never brought back to his cell.
I don't know if we have enough time to get into that one, but I think that a lot of that has to do with not with God, but with man. And I think that man really likes to blame God for a lot of stuff
that mean
man has created.
Does that mean there is no place in today's society for religion?
No, I think religion is fine if it's a true religion. I think a lot of what religions teach is fear and control. And I don't think that's so fine. But there's nothing wrong with religion. Religion means bind back to God. But I think that a lot of what's taught today is not true religion.
All right, let me ask you this. Is it time that we got rid of God?
Well, I don't think we can get rid of God, but I think that we could definitely, in terms of mankind's approach to what he has been taught about God, I think that could definitely be left aside. We need to understand that God is even the Bible says God is a spirit. Mm-hmm. God is an energy. God is a frequency.
God is a creation of man.
Yeah.
We'll be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to get more information about Misa, her website is www.misahealingandreadings.com. I am Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. Don't go away.
As host of Dialogue with Divinity, I am thrilled to join the X Zone Broadcast Network and their growing number of affiliates. My quest for a connection to the divine ignited my successful career path as an international spiritual counselor for over 40 years, an author of 4 books, and well-known metaphysical educator. My clients call me their spiritual mama. So my job is to offer you a radio show to help you grow spiritually with wisdom and get specific tools from guests who are experts in their field. Tune in to Dialogue with Divinity and be part of the conversation with Spirit. My goal, your happy soul. For more information, please visit my website at johannacarroll.com.
Coming soon to the X-Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who would like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X-Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold.
And welcome back. This is the X-Zone. Misa is my special guest. And, religion, philosophies, I think, have done more harm than they have done good because they get people to question themselves and question each other. And philosophies and religions have caused more wars and more damage to this planet than anything else. My religion's better than yours. My God's better than yours. And you would have thought that we would have learned all this by now. So where do we go? What do we do? Is it time that we say, look, it's the year 2016. We're going into 2017. We don't need religion. There is no God. We only have ourselves here. And if God is in each and every one of us, why do we need churches? Why do we need mosques? Why do we need philosophers? We should be able to do all this ourselves without going to the outside to help us understand what is inside, because if it's inside, shouldn't we have the ability to understand already?
You've just stated my case perfectly, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with what you just said. And I think the problem is that we are taught to go outside of ourselves. And so therefore, we're taught that we need the churches. We're taught that we need religion. We're taught that we need all these things. We don't. If we would go inside and we touch what's inside of us, which is that point of love within us, within our heart, we don't need anything else. Things would, if every person on this planet touched the love that is truly inside of them, things would change, and they change very quickly.
I don't need a God to tell me that I should be a good person. I know that inside. I don't need a God or a deity, a religion or a philosophy to get me to help someone who's in trouble. This comes naturally.
That's right. And you just said it. It comes naturally because that desire to help, to be a conduit of love, to be that energy, that is inherent in us.
So I've seen it, Misa, where something disastrous goes wrong in a person's life, and they say, God, why have you done this to me? Well, if you really look at the surroundings and get to the bottom of it, there was no God who had anything to do with it. There are a series of events that happened. That's right. Or somebody gets a good report card. Thank you, God. Oh, wait a minute. God didn't do the studying, you did. So why is it that there are still people today who believe they need a deity? Is it just like those people who want so much to have the ability to say we are not alone in this universe, that they create fantasy of UFOs, extraterrestrials, ghost hauntings, things that go bump in the night, Bigfoot?
I will speak from my own experience.
Sure.
When I maybe see a picture of a master or a picture of Jesus, what that does for me, because I believe Jesus was a real person, and I believe that he was a totally self-realized person that was in what's called unity consciousness. He saw nothing as separate from himself. So when I see a picture of Jesus, it will help me, remind me of that same thing that's in me. It's a way of bringing my perception back to my own reality. And so it's helpful for me. So I think that some of the things that religion do were originally meant to help us.
I agree.
Remember who we are.
I agree. I think that religion's role in the development of our species was very useful at the time. People trying to make sense of the world, the stars, the reasons for things happening. There has to be an explanation when something happens, but what is it? Geez, I don't know, but maybe it's this. And it's stuck. But here we are in the year 2016, and I've said this before. We don't need a shepherd anymore.
I'm not so sure. Look at what's going on in the world.
But that has nothing to do with whether we need a philosophical leader or not. That's because the times are changing. I don't believe it has anything to do with any deity. It has nothing to do with any philosophy. In fact, what's happening in the world is being caused by religious philosophies.
Yeah, that's not what I meant was the world is in such bad shape that maybe we still need something that will help us reflect back and go inward within ourselves to find that goodness and that love within ourselves. Because if you look at the world, there's certainly the mass consciousness is not in that place of love. It's in a place of fear, and it's in a place of lashing out.
And it's being caused by the religious philosophies of the world.
Well, a lot of it is. I don't argue that.
You've got the Christians saying, my God, it's the right way or the highway. You have the members of the Islamic world who are saying Allah is the way. Right. You've got the Buddhist, you've got the Zenist, and the list goes on.
Right.
If we were to get rid of all of these religious philosophies, bang, they're all gone, we would have to start depending on each other. And once we started depending on each other, the walls would come down, the insecurities would come down. We would need to trust and earn the trust and learn the trust. But as long as there are religions in this world, those trusts, those lessons, the love will not be there. You look at any religion in the world, man, they are rich. What about the poor people? What about the hungry? What about the sick? Look at the Vatican. Get rid of all that crap. You know, you've got one guy who is the Pope, and, you know, like, let's face it, the Vatican and every religion is just like a company.
Yes.
Let's use Catholicism right now. The Pope. Yes. He's the CEO. Then you've got the College of Cardinals. They're the board of directors. And then you've got all the people who go to church and give their tithings each and every week, whether or not they can afford it. They are the shareholders. And who's making all the money? Who is making all the profit? The corporation, not the shareholders.
Oh, it's the richest corporation on the planet.
I know. And if you go into any other religious philosophy, it is the same. When it comes to the fight against Christianity and Islam, it's been going on for thousands of years. It's not going to stop. One is going to be the ultimate survivor over the other unless people realize, hey, this is stupid. Get rid of the religious philosophy and the world can succeed. Most of the people in this world have died in the name of their religious beliefs.
Yes. That's very true.
You know, so whether it's your new age way of thinking, call it consciousness, call it vibrational, whatever you want to call it, whether it is Christianity, whether it is Hinduism, whether it is Judaism, whether it is Islam, get rid of them all. Get rid of each and every one of them. And let people, without any bias, without any philosophical or religious gain to be meant. And this is what I mean, you know, you're going to go to heaven if you do this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
Hey, listen, you're dead. That's it. But, you know, you can call it spirituality, we can call it religion, we can call it whatever we want. It's gone too far. The people at the top have way too much power. And you see, this is where I love Donald Trump. I was so happy that he was elected as the president of the United States because what he did was he showed people that it is not I, the person, it's we, the people, and we, the people, spoke. And Donald Trump was elected. People say, well, yeah, look at his past. Well, what are you going to do? Look what he was going up against. Hillary Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, you know, organized crime at its best.
Right.
So you had to do something. So yes, the lesser of two evils. But this was the will of the people.
Yep.
And I think the same thing should apply with religion. My final thoughts are that we don't need religion anymore. We do not need all this woo-wooism that is taking the place of religion because people still want something to believe in.
Well, I agree with you. You know, the New Age stuff sometimes just drives me up a wall because I think it's just so off base, and it is like a religion,
sure.
Really, and people are buying into it left, right, and everywhere, and
it's a big business.
It's a huge business, and I think it's just very off. You know, and so I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. I don't know how that would ever happen, that religion and belief systems would all of a sudden just sort of leave, you know, not be there anymore, and people would let them go because I think people are so wrapped up in them and have bought into them so deeply.
I think what it will take is for people to start taking the rose-colored glasses off.
Yeah.
And seeing, you know, like, nobody has to tell me in a book that my wife loves me. I see it. She shows me. I show her how much I love her. I show my kids, my grandchildren. And the love is shared. The goodness is shared. You know, like I said, I see somebody on the street who needs help. I help.
Yeah.
I don't wait for an invitation from a guardian angel to say, Rob, you should get involved. I've never been like that. But I really believe, Misa, that the time is coming soon where there is going to be a spiritual revolution. And spirituality of all kind will be seen as the downfall, in my opinion, of humanity. We've got to say so long for now. I want to thank you so much for joining us. And Exo Nation, if you'd like to find out more about Misa, let me just get her email, her website over here. It's www.misahealingandreadings.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.